Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to dive into a powerful historical philosophy on how to protect your mental energy in an age of constant information overload. We are going to explore a completely different paradigm for managing your time, your focus, and ultimately, your intellectual output. So, let's just start by confronting a feeling I'm pretty sure we all share. We live in this era where we are constantly told to consume more, right? More articles, more books, more data. But let me ask you, is your desire to know everything actually making you less intellectual? I mean, we often feel this tremendous guilt for not being able to do it all. We buy giant stacks of books we never even open, and we bookmark hundreds of articles we are absolutely never going to read. Today, we're going to look at why that instinct to just consume more is fundamentally flawed and exactly how to fix it.
To figure out how to break this cycle, we're pulling from a really fascinating source. We are exploring the deep historical wisdom of Philip Gilbert Hamerton. He was a 19th century British intellectual and writer. Through a modern spiritual lens presented in this book by Ryuho Okawa, we get an incredible look at how Hamerton's philosophy of the intellectual life can survive today's endless modern distractions. It is a striking look at how practitioners across history intensely protected their own minds.
All right, Section 1, the art of letting go.
This brings us to a massive shift in mindset. We need to move away from the exhausting pressure of addition, adding more tasks, more reading, more obligations, and move toward the incredibly liberating power of subtraction. At the core of this is the Japanese concept of mikiru. In our source text, it represents the wisdom of decisively judging, abandoning, or just ruthlessly cutting out waste from your life. And to be clear, this is not about giving up because you're lazy, it's the exact opposite. Giving up the unnecessary is the ultimate form of intellectual self-defense. Actually, scratch that. It's an active, aggressive choice to protect your mental bandwidth.
The crucial point here is that cutting out waste is absolutely essential to get an intellectual life on track today. Just think about it for a second. Hamerton was writing way back in the 19th century, but his wisdom is arguably more vital right now than it ever was. We are basically swimming in a bottomless ocean of digital information and superficial chores. If you don't actively practice mikikuru, if you don't ruthlessly cut the fat, your intellectual life will literally just drown. Cutting the waste is how you safeguard your personal intellectual resources for what truly matters.
Moving right along to Section 2, stop speed reading now.
Let's apply this concept of mikuru to a modern habit we all feel a little guilty about, how we consume information. The modern instinct when we're faced with way too much data is to just try and process it faster. We take speed reading courses, we listen to podcasts at double speed, you name it. But Hamerton's historical philosophy argues something entirely different. True intellectual selection is not about speed at all. It's about selective reading. It's about quickly judging what has absolutely no value to your specific goals, and then just skipping it entirely.
The text highlights a really profound realization. Rather than obsessing over the mere speed of your reading, the true essential skill is the quickness of your judgment. It is vastly more important to have the courage to simply say, "Nope, this is unnecessary," and decide not to read it. Being quick to abandon a valueless book is a much, much higher intellectual skill than just forcing yourself to read a bad book quickly.
Let's look at how this builds into a broader rule. Unnecessary reading wastes precious intellectual energy. Think of your brain like a battery. Every single time you force yourself to finish an article or a book out of sheer obligation, you are draining that battery. Cutting out invaluable reading protects your mind. It reserves your very limited daily energy for the knowledge and the deep work that actually aligns with your life's purpose.
Okay, let's get into Section 3, choosing an intellectual partner. Now we are moving to a highly provocative but super practical application of mikuru. In a section exploring the wisdom of practitioners transcending history, we find Hamerton's incredibly stark historical views on marriage. The source notes that for someone actively pursuing a life of the mind, staying single was historically often seen as highly advantageous, simply to protect one's time. But if an intellectual does choose to marry, Hamerton believed there were very strict conditions for that relationship to actually succeed without totally destroying their intellectual pursuits. According to this historical perspective, there are really only two types of successful spouses for a truly dedicated intellectual. The first is the absolute caretaker. This is a partner who takes on all household chores without making the intellectual feel hesitant or guilty for their intense focus. The second type is the intellectual equal. This is a partner fully capable of walking the steep, rugged path of knowledge right alongside you, acting as a true peer and conversational equal. It's a pretty ruthless, highly categorized view of relationships, for sure, but it perfectly highlights the absolute lengths to which historical practitioners went to safeguard their mental environment.
The text openly acknowledges just how incredibly hard it is to maintain this balance. Navigating public duties, family relationships, and deep intellectual work is a massive, massive challenge. Choosing a partner is perhaps the most critical, life-altering decision you will ever make regarding your intellectual resources. A mismatch here, according to the source, can drain your energy faster than anything else, leaving absolutely nothing left for your true work.
Which brings us to our final part. Section 4, Protecting Your Mental Energy. Let's bring all these concepts together. The timeless wisdom of intellectual practitioners transcending history really all points to the exact same truth. Whether it is abandoning a useless book, walking away from a distraction, or carefully navigating your most personal relationships, this historical wisdom boils down to one single overriding priority: fiercely guarding your time.
So the crucial takeaway for us today is that true wisdom isn't about processing more data. We need a massive paradigm shift from addition to subtraction. When you finally embrace the power of Misakiru, when you realize that saying no to a book, a task, or a social obligation is actually a massive victory for your intellect, you experience this immense sense of relief. Letting go of the unnecessary is exactly how you make room for brilliance.
I want to leave you with a direct challenge based on everything we've just covered. I want you to look at your desk right now. Look at your digital schedule and look closely at your daily habits. What is the very first thing you need to decisively cut out today? Don't try to speed raid through the noise. Cut the noise out entirely. Reclaim your mental energy and start building a true intellectual life. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I highly encourage you to take that first step of subtraction today.